There was a man who believed his life was full of problems. Every day he found something to complain about. He complained about everything in his life, his job, the weather, even the smallest problems. Nothing was ever good enough. But one day, he saw something that completely changed the way he looked at life. And what he discovered might change the way you see your own life too. Welcome to Fluent Storyland. Stay with me until the end of this story because what he realized will change the way you think about happiness.
The man who complained about everything.
There was once a man who complained about everything. No matter what happened in his life, he always found something to be unhappy about. If the weather was sunny, he said it was too hot. If it rained, he said it ruined his day. If his job was easy, he said it was boring. If it was difficult, he said it was stressful. Nothing ever seemed good enough for him. His name was Daniel. Daniel lived in a comfortable home. He had a stable job. He had food to eat every day. And yet, he was never satisfied. Every morning, Daniel woke up with the same thoughts. "Another long day," he would say. "Nothing ever changes." As he got ready for work, he complained about the traffic. On the way to work, he complained about other people. At work, he complained about his boss, his coworkers, and even the smallest tasks. One day, his friend Michael decided to speak with him. Michael had known Daniel for many years. He cared about him, but he was tired of hearing constant complaints. "Daniel," Michael said gently, "why do you complain so much?" Daniel looked surprised. "I'm just being honest," he replied. "Life is not easy." Michael nodded. "Yes, life is not always easy," he said, "but do you ever notice the good things in your life?" Daniel shook his head. "There's nothing special," he said. "It's all the same." Michael thought for a moment. Then he said, "Come with me tomorrow. I want to show you something." The next day, Daniel followed Michael. They walked through the city for a while. Then they entered a different part of town. This area looked very different. The buildings were older, the streets were quieter, and the people there lived much simpler lives. Michael stopped in front of a small house. Inside, a family was sitting together. They were sharing a simple meal. The food was not expensive. The house was not large, but the family was smiling. They were laughing. They looked happy. Daniel watched quietly. He didn't understand. "How can they be happy?" he asked. "They have so little." Michael looked at him and said, "Maybe they are happy because they appreciate what they have." Daniel remained silent. They continued walking. Soon they saw a man sitting on a bench. The man was wearing old clothes, but he was feeding birds and smiling peacefully. "Doesn't he look calm?" Michael asked. Daniel nodded slowly. "He doesn't have much," Michael continued, "but he is not complaining." Daniel began to feel something inside him, a small discomfort, a quiet realization. Later that day, they returned home. Daniel didn't say much. For the first time in a long time, he was thinking deeply. That night, Daniel sat alone in his room. He remembered everything he had seen, the smiling family, the peaceful man. Then he thought about his own life. "I have more than they do," he said to himself. "Why am I not happy?" For the first time, Daniel realized something important. The problem was not his life. The problem was his mindset. The next morning, something different happened. When Daniel woke up, he didn't complain. Instead, he paused. He looked around his room. He noticed his bed, his home, his simple comforts. For the first time, he said, "I am grateful." At work, when things became difficult, he still felt stress. But instead of complaining, he tried to stay calm. When traffic was slow, he didn't get angry. He listened to music. He relaxed. When something went wrong, he didn't blame others. He tried to find a solution. Slowly, his life began to change. Not because his situation changed, but because his attitude changed. Days passed, then weeks. Daniel became a different person. People around him noticed it too. "You seem happier," one coworker said. Daniel smiled. "I didn't change my life. I changed the way I see my life." One day, Daniel met Michael again. "Thank you," Daniel said. "You showed me something important." Michael smiled. "No," he said. "You discovered it yourself." Daniel nodded. He finally understood. Happiness does not come from having everything. It comes from appreciating what you already have. From that day forward, Daniel still faced challenges. Life was not perfect, but he was no longer the man who complained about everything. He became the man who appreciated everything. Moral of the story: if you focus only on what is wrong in your life, you will never be happy. But if you learn to appreciate what you have, you will discover that happiness was always there.
So remember, happiness does not come from having a perfect life. It comes from appreciating the life you already have. If you enjoyed this story and want to improve your English through more inspiring stories, subscribe to Fluent Storyland. And don't forget to like and share this video with someone who needs this message today.